Hello, hello, and welcome to Living Beyond CRPS. I am Samantha, and I am going to answer some questions about why I'm getting my leg amputated and basically go over what CRPS is in this video. I'm going to give you guys a background of where it all came from and how it started for me, and basically just a rundown as to what's making my life so complicated as to why I've chosen to go with the amputation. I have a GoFundMe page, and it brought up a lot of questions from people, which is understandable, and I figured this would be the fastest and easiest way to answer those questions, as well as maybe spread awareness of what it could be like living with chronic pain. I did a video similar to this, and it didn't have audio, so this would be my third try. So here we go. Where to start? What is CRPS? CRPS is complex regional pain syndrome, and basically how I like to describe it is something I read in a neurologist book. Is your house, it has a security system. That is your nervous system. That's what we're going to visualize right now. And for most people, your nervous system, your alarm, does not go off unless there's an injury or somebody breaks in, right? With CRPS, the alarm is set to super, super sensitive. So it is going off anytime the wind blows. And for me, that pretty much means anytime I'm wearing the wrong kind of pants and it rubs against my leg, or somebody touches my leg, or my leg just feels like it wants to just have a flare up. For other people, another way that I can describe it for you is fight and flight, right? So you get injured, your body goes into fight mode, it's got to heal this injury, so your nerves are telling your brain, hey, send all necessary support down to this injury or to this injury and take care of it. Well, with CRPS patients, we get the pleasure of it never shutting off. So even if we get touched or something, our brains are thinking, oh my gosh, there's an injury, we need to save it. So there's pain, got to keep this injury safe. It never shuts off for us. So fight and flight. But yeah, that is basically what CRPS is. There are two different types. One is nerve damage, like one affected the nerves and it got started that way. One is there was an injury and that's how it was started. But doctors, for the most part, still don't understand exactly what's going on and how CRPS got, like, how CRPS actually starts. Like, they have an idea, but they don't actually have a cause. So, like I said, there are two types, type 1 and type 2. Mine was when my nerves got injured, and I'll explain to you when in the timeline, I give you guys when they believe that started. And for a lot of people, it's during injuries such as sprains, twisting of the ankle is the most common, in the wrist for like carpal tunnels and things like that, in the shoulders, mostly in the joints. But CRPS does spread. Not for everybody, thankfully, and our symptoms can look a little different for everybody, so please don't be listening to this video going, oh my gosh, I think I have CRPS. Check with your doctors if that's true. It's sadly not very well known to doctors, but more and more doctors are learning about it. So don't be afraid to speak up for yourself if you do believe you have these symptoms and, that's what you want to do. So, get these injuries in your joints, and it does spread. It can be in your bowels. It can spread to your back, your neck, your legs, depending on where it is. It can even jump from body part to body part. So you might start off in your left arm, and it continues in your left arm, but also now it starts in your right arm with no rhyme or reason. For me, what happened is it started in my left hip, and it spread all the way down my left leg into my foot. So my symptoms are swelling, cramping, Like my leg feels like it's eating itself sometimes. So much fun. Spasms, nerve shock sensation, firing, like it's on fire sometimes. It sometimes feels like I'm being stung by bees or stabbed with a knife, like a stabbing sensation. I already said nerve shocks, but you know those plasma balls that you see sometimes where you put your hand on it and then all the lightning goes to your fingers. I feel that sometimes when people are touching my leg with their hands. I can like feel the outline of their hand on my leg. It's a very weird sensation. I feel like fire ants are crawling on my legs sometimes. I have poor circulation, so it's constantly cold. And a lot of clicking and clacking because of the inflammation in my joints and things like that, so that's always fun. And my leg likes to go numb, and sometimes it likes to cramp up so badly I get stiff muscles and have to get injections in my leg to relax them, so that's always fun. What have I done to try to medicate or prevent myself from getting an amputation? I've been on every kind of medication there is known to doctors, narcotics, and otherwise. Like I've been on antidepressants and things, gabapentins, things like that. I don't want to get too hard into it. Trigger warning for those. But medication-wise, I have tried it all. And I have basically been found severe allergic reaction to practically all of it. So I don't get to take anything for my leg. We have tried steroid injections, cortisone injections, like I can't think of what they're called right now, but it'll come to me after this video probably. But I've had a lot of injections into my back, into my bum, into my leg, into my ankles, into my knees, just trying to get the pain to stop. Nothing made it any better. In fact, a lot of it made it a lot worse. So we stopped doing those. Other treatments such as physical therapy I have done, again, has decided it made it worse rather than better. I talk about the time that I got physical therapy and used to desensitize my nerves. And basically what that is you get pieces of cloth of different variations of roughness, from satin, silk, all the way to burlap. And you have to go through each piece for a couple of weeks and just kind of get your nerves used to the sensation of that article of clothing. Or not article of clothing because it's only like a scrap of fabric, but that scrap of fabric. And then once it's used to it, you move on to the next piece and you move on until you you get used to all of them. And we had to quit that during the second stage because it wasn't working. In fact, they were like, after 2-3 weeks of trying to get it desensitized to the second stage, they were like, I don't think this is helping for you at all. I've been to different pain management sessions, a lot of different mental and physical treatments and things. Mentally, I learned about grounding techniques, and we learned that how to meditate and how to see the pain and move it from our bodies. I've had some success with that. I've learned a lot of different coping skills and basically just trying to deal with the everyday to-day pain. I've been told early on that if I don't move my leg, I will ironically lose my leg, but it'd be very painful as with the circulation and everything being so poor in my leg, my muscles were starting to atrophy. So by not moving it even a little bit, it would just get worse, and the cramping and the eating of it and all that good stuff. Basically, it would just feel a whole lot worse than it is now. So I do make sure I move my body. I do low impact exercises on days that I'm having, I call them SpongeBob days. Something me and my therapist have come up with. I can make another video describing those kind of things if you want, and the different techniques of mental therapy that I've done in order to cope with this, if you guys like. Leave it in the comments if you want me to do a video on that. But basically, I I try not to just let myself sit on the couch with my legs up all day, because trust me, I want to. So I do have variation of different degrees of pain on a scale of 1 to 10. I live at a 4 or 5, but with mental exercises and coping skills and things, I can convince myself I'm a 3. So anyways, let's start at the beginning. When the pain started, my surgery journeys, and where we're at to right now. So this may take a little while. Feel free to fast forward if you guys want to. But in 2005 is when I first got injured, and that was at a fast food restaurant I worked at. I was a high schooler, and fast food restaurants was the only place that hired me at the moment. And I was bending over, and suddenly there was a sharp pain in my left hip. I couldn't do anything. It really, really hurt. But I, at the time, just thought it was a muscle strain, or I pulled something, because I was in cross country and I was running track. So I just thought maybe I pulled something. I was a very, very active child, always running around. I was very klutzy, so falling all the time. I was used to the subtle pains and things happening in life, and I learned to get over it quickly. However, this pain seemed to stick around for a while, and after a month or two of it not going away, I convinced my family to take me to the doctors. And of course, at first they're like, "You didn't do anything. It's just a strain. Just keep staying off of it." And I was on crutches for like what felt like forever. And then eventually they're like, "You know what? I don't think it's your leg. I think it's your back." And I had to go to a back specialist. And you'll hear me talk about how I've jumped from back specialist to orthopedic specialist, a bone doctor for my hip, like 100 billion times, because that's basically what I did for years. So in 2005, I went and was referred to another doctor in Pittsburgh, which is several hours or a couple hours away from me. Not to give my location away, but I do live in Pennsylvania, so you'll hear these places a lot. And I went down to the city to go see one of their specialists, and their specialist was like, "There's nothing wrong with your leg, it's your back." The back people were like, no, it's definitely your leg, go back. And they're like, "Fine, go see a nerve specialist." And I first conducted my nerve tests, which are very painful. Even though they tell you they're not painful, they're very painful. And sadly, it came back abnormal, but not abnormal enough to care. So nothing happened there. Then I went and got my back done, and they were like, "Okay, it's your back, go see another specialist for your back," and then they'd send me back to another hip specialist. And so finally I got to see a doctor, and they found out my labrum was torn in 2006, and I had my first surgery. And the labrum is the cartilage in between your femur and your pelvic bone, so the bones don't grind together. I tore that, but they didn't have any understanding of why. And when they did the surgery, they said it was so torn, it was wrapped around my leg, and no wonder I was in so much pain. It's like, cool, awesome. So then, after that surgery, I was expected to feel better because, they fixed the problem. However, the pain was still very excruciating, and it never really went away. So then, I was back seeing that same doctor who did the surgery for years, and he'd send me to different specialists over and over and over again. I won't get into the details. And they gave me more back shots, more buttock shots of different kinds, and I was on so many pain medications that nothing really helped. And eventually, I had another hip surgery in 2010 to fix a bone growth they found on my hip. And basically there's a groove or an extra bump of bone on the top of my femur that was scraping off the labrum and causing the tears and stuff and that discomfort that I was supposedly feeling. So he basically went in and cleaned out the kitchen sink, he said. He shaved down that bone, and then he patched up the labrum the best he could, and that was the end of the story. And after the pain never went away from that surgery, and in fact it got worse, he stated that I need to go see somebody else. So again, I'm calling around trying to find other doctors, other orthopedics, and I met another guy, and he stated that. Oh wait, I'm going too forward. I saw a pain specialist who, after giving me my last injections, were like, "Look, I think you have CRPS. It's very rare. A lot of doctors don't know about it, but it fits all your symptoms. And the way you find out, the way doctors diagnose their patients is the lack of finding. So basically, them not finding out what's wrong with me is telling them that this is what I have. There's no test for CRPS. It's an elimination process. So I got the diagnosis and I'm like, what is CRPS? I looked into it. I'm like, no, this possibly can't be my life, because if you look it up, it says CRPS is a chronic pain condition. It's a lifetime condition. Some people can go in remission if caught early enough. However, when I got diagnosed, it was several years after he believes I got CRPS, because he says it was during my first surgery my second surgery in 2010 that he believes I started having CRPS. So I wasn't within remission, like grace, because they didn't catch it in time. He also stated that everything they've tried is pretty much what they would have tried with a CRPS patient, and since it didn't work, there's not much they could do. So basically what he said is, here's a condition that we cannot treat or haven't found treatment for, that you're going to live with the rest of your life. And I was like, no, thank you. That's not the answer. There's definitely something else wrong with me. So 2012, I seen another doctor, and he believed I had impingements, 2 nerves impinged in my hip from all the scar tissue and stuff that was inside my left hip, because there was a lot of it. So what he did is had a very quick surgery to unpinch it, and he even called it the unpinchment surgery. That's what he calls it. So that surgery did absolutely nothing. So I honestly forget to talk about it sometimes, because it was literally complete waste of my time. So then I had the surgery, and the more you mess with the more surgeries you have, the more you mess and injure up a leg or the CRPS infected area, the worse it's going to get for you. So I'm already at the top tiers of CRPS. Yay for me. And I'm still going to doctors, still looking for answers. And at this point, I'm still trying to work. So I feel good for a little bit because I was being lazy, and not lazy, I was relaxing and doing what my body needed to just not have flare-ups every day. And I'm like, I think I'm good. I think I'm going to go to work. So I'd start a job and I'd work my butt off, but in working so long and for long periods of time, I'd have flare-ups like every single day. And eventually me and the boss would come to the conclusion that it was just not a good fit, and I'd eventually quit. So that took a mental toll on me as well, just not being able to keep a job and having to go to all these doctor's appointments, and them telling me that it's all in my head basically because they can't find out what's wrong with me. And mentally, I was just not in a good place. But I was hanging in there. So in 2010, I decided I wanted my leg amputated. The pain was enough is enough. But at that point, I had met my amazing husband, and he just was not supportive of it, which is okay. It's, I wasn't going to do this without the support of my family, and a lot of them were like, no, we'd rather just go to a bunch of doctors and travel hours upon hours inside of Pennsylvania looking for the right doctors rather than you getting your leg amputated. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I dropped it. So then in 2016, I was given the opportunity to meet a new doctor, and he decided that I had osteoarthritis throughout my left hip and a lot of weird bone growths and stuff in my hip, and that it would be best just to not to amputate, sorry, best just to remove the hip. So I got a total hip replacement in my left hip to hopefully fix the problem. Okay. So here I am. I was like 25 at the time, and I'm getting hip surgery. Afterwards, I have to say that for about a month, after I was recovered and everything, and I was done feeling the pain from surgery, I felt okay. I was running around, playing with my kid. I was even riding bikes and stuff like that. And I felt like, okay, I got my life back. However, sadly, I started feeling pain again. It started off slow. It wasn't every day. It was like once a week, twice a week. And then it slowly got every day. So that was really devastating to me because here I thought I was fixed and I wasn't. I'm sorry I'm not looking at the camera. Okay, anyways, I'm just telling this story is very hard for me. But I want you guys to know and I want to help answer questions. So anyways, I had the surgery. I thought it was going to help. And at that point, my leg was just getting worse. I was starting to feel new sensations that I didn't feel prior to that. I was having muscle spasms. I was having shocking sensations more and more. At first, it was like every once in a while when I stepped wrong or if I bent over or something else. But instead, now it was like a more consistent, constant thing in my life. At that point, I wasn't really able to bend over without excruciating pain in my left leg, and it was starting to spread from my hip into my foot. At first, it was just at my knee, and wasn't as bad into my leg, but it was starting to spread all the way into my foot. So I was having numbness. I was actually falling a couple of times because my leg would just give out on me, which is never good. And like I would just be walking and suddenly my leg's like, hello, goodbye. And I was on the ground. It was awful. And then I'd be in excruciating pain because my nerves were like, hey, what's happening? And so anyways, and at this point I wasn't medicated at all because after being on practically everything, when found out I was allergic to practically everything and nothing else they tried to give me worked, I was basically told just take some Tylenol and take a muscle relaxer and hope it helps, even though muscle relaxers didn't help at all. Then in 2019, it got to the point where I could no longer work, and so I quit my job and started my own business, and I thought sitting around the house would help calm the pain more, but instead it got worse. So I was no longer able to run, like my muscles and my legs. When I do try to run just to see if I can do it, I can barely pick my leg up enough to do it. So I was losing muscle and I was losing the ability to really use my leg. And I needed more and more help getting dressed, and I needed more and more help getting my shoes on and stuff. And I started lacking in household chores and really needing different kinds of support that I didn't need before because my leg was just getting a whole lot worse. So basically, at this point, I couldn't stand longer than 15 minutes without having excruciating pain, sometimes even numbness, that tingling sensation you get when your leg goes numb. But instead of just tingles, it felt like pins and needles, but also fire ants. And my leg would swell up real bad if I stood for too long or if I sat for too long. So that's a bonus. It also, I had to start wearing more and more pajamas. I didn't have to, but I felt more comfortable to wear softer and softer clothes, which are pajama bottoms. So I have no shame in admitting that I wear pajama bottoms a lot. And then I couldn't bend over. I used grabber hookers, little devices to bend over and grab things. I would do deadlift bends where like you just bend at the hip. Excuse me. But I'd lift my leg up. So I was doing one-legged bends, which isn't convenient to do in public because it kicked people, which I felt bad. But I also wasn't able to lift more than 10 pounds because the more I tried to lift, the more I weighed, and for some reason my hip just didn't appreciate that at all. I don't even know what else you guys want to know. Basically, my leg was useless, and I felt useless, even though I knew I wasn't. My mental health started really taking effect here. So at this point in 2019, my husband, after doing some research and stuff of his own, decided, hey, go ahead. I'm all about you getting your amputation now. I just want you to live your best life. And I'm like, thank you so much. So basically, him giving me that support allowed me to go online and hunt down every orthopedic surgeon that does amputations. And I called them up, and I called about 50 or so before I got one person to say, yes, we'll see you. And basically, I was just like, hi, do you do hip articulations? And if they said no, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Because a hip disarticulation is when they take your hip off at the waist. And since my pain starts at the hip and goes all the way down to my leg, it just made sense to me to remove the whole problem, right? So when the doctor said no, because it's a very rare procedure, I guess, I have to move on to the next one. And the doctor I found said yes. I was like, cool, what do you know about CRPS? And they said, I don't know, we'll have to discuss it. And when I got to the first doctor, they just pretty much flat out told me, no, my leg looked healthy, and set me on my way. I was like, all right, cool, thanks for nothing. And then I found another doctor, and I was like, hi, do you do hip disarticulations? He's like, yes. Do you know about CRPS? He goes, I've heard of it. Cool. So I had hope. And then went to this doctor, and he was like, I may do it. I'm retiring, however, and this is a long healing process, and I want to be with you during that healing process, but I'm retiring, so I'd have to ask my colleague who would be taking over for me how he felt about this. So I had to go see his colleague, and basically, and this gentleman makes me really mad, he didn't know about CRPS at all. He didn't understand what it was, how it affected me, and he wouldn't let me speak. He pretty much just said no. He's like, your leg looks fine. The pain, whatever, it can be managed. No, it can't. We've tried. So anyways, even his nurse that was with him was very, very rude. But basically he said no, and he told his colleague no, and so his colleague told me, I'm sorry, no. And I was like, whatever, enjoy your retirement. So then I went back to the drawing boards, and I've called like 20 or so more people asking if they do these procedures and if they know about CRPS. And finally, I got this doctor about several hours out from me, and he said he'd speak to me. And when I first met him, he'd like, you don't have to convince me. I know what CRPS is. I've had patients with CRPS. You know, I understand what you're going through. And I was like, awesome. That's so great. He goes, how about this? How about let me just think about it, and we'll have another appointment. So I had hope. This doctor was not saying no. He was just wanting to think about it. And I did a lot of research on him before I even called him, because I wanted to make sure he was open-minded. And he had a lot of research papers in a variety of different fields and stuff. And he did a lot of good reviews on his amputations. So I was like, this dude's going to be the one. I can feel it. So while I was trying to keep my hopes down, I finally had the second appointment. I was writing him letters, convincing him just to like let me have this quality of life that I want. And when I saw him again, he's like, look, it's not the amputation that's really holding me back here, because I understand where you're coming from. He goes, you don't have to convince me that you're in pain. I believe you. Which is awesome, because for a long time people are like, oh, it's all in your head, CRPS, it's all in your head, blah, blah, blah. Well, he's like, my problem is the hip disarticulation. He's had done the surgery before on patients, and after a few months, they pretty much are wheelchair bound. And he's like, knowing the quality of life you want, getting a hip disarticulation is just not something I'm willing to do. He's like, however, I am willing to do above the knee amputation. Now, he hasn't told me how far up the knee or how close to my hip, like how much of a stump I'm going to get. But he told me what he wants to do is get his team of neurologists together and figure out a way to help stop the pain from the nerves while he's in there. So either a pain pump or burning the nerves or tying the nerves or something. I don't know. He was talking. I was in La La Land because I was just so excited. And he said that he wanted to do it after the holidays. And I was going to say, yes, let's do it. but I have a family. So my biggest concern was I walk them to school every day. And yes, you heard me. I walk them to school every day because we live close enough to walk, and that means no buses. But anyways, um, so I was like, you know what, this is gonna have to be in the summertime because of school and everything. This isn't just feasible. This isn't feasible. And he's like, that's okay. It'll allow me a time to get with my team and really come up with a plan. So May 14th, I have it scheduled to go see him again and to figure out all the details of when the surgery is happening. We're saying June, hopefully, is when we're hoping, because he said he wants to do it in June, but he has to make sure his team's available. And yeah, we're going to, find out all the details. But one of the major questions I'm always getting is, why do I want to get this amputation? Why is it so important that I get this done? And I know I discussed it about my history and everything, but it's honestly the quality of life. I was a very active child, and even just mostly even in the past couple of years, I'm not active. I do my workouts, I walk my children to school, and then to preserve any energy left in my leg, I sit right where I'm at right now, on my recliner. Household chores, I used to be a huge cleaner. I love cleaning. It's one of my zen things. But now it's just like super strenuous and painful to stand there and do dishes or to cook dinner or do anything. So I have to sit while I do those things. Even vacuuming is very, very painful for me. And I have a light vacuum, and just the action of like leaning forward and like back and forth and stuff, it's very painful. So I want my quality of life back. I want to be able to do chores and stand for longer than 15 minutes and not have to worry about what kind of seat a basketball game has, or if I have to sit on the ground or not, how I'm going to, like, how much pain am I going to be in, if it's grass or whatever. I can't even walk on sand. So when me and my husband went to our honeymoon in Virginia on the beach, I wasn't even able to go to the water because I couldn't get past the sandy beach. It hurt. My leg hurt so much that after the first like 3 or 4 steps into the sand, I had to turn around and painfully walk back to the boardwalk. Uneven surfaces kill my leg. So the snow that we're having right now, having to walk in the snow, having to go through the slush and the gravel and the grass and stuff like that, it physically hurts, and I literally have to do deep breathing just to get through it. Just to take my kids to school and back, I have to like bring my cane, make sure I'm in like enough time that I get them on school on time, but also enough time where I can get myself home. If there's any type of hill, it's a killer. Even our local grocery stores and stuff, the floors on our Walmart are uneven, and it kills me to go shopping. I would love to be able to go shopping. I'd love to be able to sit in a car for more than 10 minutes without getting excruciatingly uncomfortable. Driving has decreased because it's super uncomfortable to sit like that. But yeah, I want my quality of life back. I want to be able to do the simple things. And some people are like, well, when you get your amputation, you're not going to be able to run, you're not going to be able to walk, blah, blah, blah. But I have seen videos of people running marathons in prosthetics. I've seen videos of people dancing just using their crutches. I can see them being happy and living their lives just using crutches sometimes, even without a prosthetic. There's a quality of life there that I don't even have right now, and I want. And I follow a lot of CRPS amputee groups. They're amazing, and it's because of those groups that have given me the idea and the courage to stand up for myself and advocate for myself to get the surgery done. I'm still in a lot of CRPS groups, and I encourage you guys to spread the word because, like I said, not a whole lot of people know about CRPS. But yeah, I'm in a lot of groups. So there's been a lot of talk of other people who are like, look, I just want to amputate my body part, my wrist, my hand. I know a young lady, me and her talk all the time. She's amputated above her knees on both legs, and her arms are to her elbows at this point because of the pain. And she's like, I'd rather be like this than dealing with the pain that I was in. She said, I'm so much happier. I live a much better life. And yeah, it's amazing what she goes through, like what she's done with her life, and the amount of inspiration she has given me and others in the group. So yeah, my basic why is just to have my quality of life back, to be able to wear shoes that are kind of cute, not just comfortable, because shoes are very, very painful for me. I can't wear socks, so my foot's freezing all the time, um, especially in the wintertime. It would be lovely to be able to do those things, to be able to bend over and touch the toe, or to sit on the ground, or do anything like that's so simple that I think a lot of people take for granted. I want to be able to do. A lot of people are concerned, what about phantom limb pain? Okay, yes, let's talk about that. There's a scale called the McGinnis pain scale. And in that scale, they had surveyed and done hundreds and hundreds of studies on people of different kinds of pain. And they've asked them, like, where's the pain? What kind of pain? What symptoms do you have? How long does it last? So the scale is made up of answers from people who, how long it lasts, what kind of pain it is, and the progression of that kind of pain. So it's got things on there like toothaches, headaches, giving birth, C-sections, migraines, fibromyalgia, all those things. It's got like a lot of the different pain levels on it. You can Google McGinnis pain scale, and basically you'll see that out of 50, CRPS is a 42. It's the highest thing on there. It's out of 50, 42 is my condition, my CRPS, or formerly known as RSD. And way, way, way below that, at number 20, is phantom limb pain. So right there you can tell that we're going from way up here to way up here. So it will basically feel like I stubbed my finger. Like, it's not going to hurt that bad compared to what I'm feeling right now. I also have a high pain tolerance. I have numerous tattoos on me. My back is completely covered. And it took about 6 hours to do my back, and I fell asleep during it. So I do have a high pain tolerance. It's not that I'm just whining and moaning all the time that, oh, I hurt myself. Oh, no, I'm like sore. Like, this pain is unbearable. And some days is even worse than others, especially when I have flare-ups. Flare-ups, I can't even think when I have a flare-up. And the symptoms with chronic pain and chronic inflammation alone, what it does to your body, the brain fog, the depression, like everything. It's just awful. So when it comes to phantom limb pain, not everybody gets phantom limb pain. And when they do, it's usually gone within the first year or so of having your leg amputated. Also, it doesn't last very long. So it can last for a day or two. In most cases, like in rare cases, it can last a day or two. But you can do mental and physical therapies to help get rid of it and to manage the pain. And now there's nothing I can do to manage anything. If my leg hurts, I literally just have to suck it up and ride it out. I use my grounding techniques. I use my meditation techniques. I use the coping techniques that I learned to get through it, but it doesn't manage anything. But there are things you can do for phantom limb pain to help you get over it, basically. Manage it and, wait it out. So, yeah, phantom limb pain is something I'm concerned with, but it's not my biggest concern. Another question I got was, what kind of fears do I have then of getting this surgery? And do I have any fears? And I have to say, yes, I do have fears when it comes to the surgery. And my biggest one is, since we're not doing the hip disarticulation, we're not chopping it off at the waist, and we're leaving some of my leg there, is the CRPS going to affect my prosthetic wearing ability? I don't know what they're going to do based on nerve burning or pain pumps or whatever to my nerves. So I don't know if it's going to work. What if I can't wear a prosthetic because of my CRPS still in my leg, or my stump won't allow me. But then I remind myself the quality of life is still there because my leg won't be there. And right now, every time my leg is touched or bumped or whatever, it hurts really, really, really bad. Without a leg there, I wouldn't have the amount of pain of standing still for too long. I won't have the amount of pain of putting my foot on the ground or wearing the wrong kind of shoes or the wrong kind of pants or somebody accidentally bumping into me or me bumping into something. Like, I won't have a leg there to irritate anymore. So yes, I might not wear a prosthetic, but the amount of things I can still do on crutches, you watch out. I'll be able to do it. You know, there's things people can do with just one leg that I can't even do with two. And I'm willing to learn, and I'm strong enough to succeed in that. So, in a way, I'm scared, but also in a way, it's like I know I can live past it. That's all the things I can think of that I've asked, people have brought up. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to put it in the comments. Another thing I guess somebody did say about is my resources. They're like, why do you have a GoFundMe page? Why don't you go to the government, get resources through that, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'd like to say that I tried. I do, after, I'm actually excited. I already said this in another video, but I'll stay here. I actually just won my Social Security disability. I finally had someone in the disability community, like in the Social Security office, who knew what CRPS was and knew about the condition enough to get that passed for me, because I've been losing in the past because I was young and I was able, so I was capable of working. And this young lady finally got it through the doctors who knew about CRPS as well, heads that, hey, I am not capable and I'm unable to do this. So I'm super grateful for that. So I will have insurance. However, insurance doesn't pay for everything. I'm researching and looking up resources. So if you guys have any ideas, have any suggestions or comments or whatever, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'm open to ideas. The GoFundMe page is just something I put together in hopes that it would lighten the burden of having to go through the surgery, going back and forth several hours to my doctor to do the rehabilitation, to do the checkups and the wellness checkups and things like that, and my husband having to lose hours at work because he's at home taking care of me and the family. I don't want to think about finances when I go into the surgery. So that's why I have a GoFundMe page. So anyways, any little bit helps. If you do decide to donate, I appreciate it greatly. Thank you. If you don't and you just want to share it or send out prayers or give me a list of resources, that's okay too. Honestly, any little bit helps. But yeah, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it answered your questions. If it didn't, feel free to put it in the comments. Yeah, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.